A very good evening and thank you for staying with us here on Republic. I'm Deepthi Sachdeva with you, and our focus right now is on the man called Parambir. For the last many days, in fact 200 plus days, no one knows about his whereabouts. Now what's important now is that a Mumbai court is all set to release a written order on the proclamation soon. The same agencies say will be handed over then to the Mumbai police, who will then go and plaster it outside the Nilima building and also in Juhu. Now what this means is that his properties will then be seized by the state. But what happens next? And when will we know the whereabouts of this man? Earlier in the day, you would recall, even the Supreme Court has come out and lambasted Parambir Singh and his counsel when they said that unless and until your location is disclosed, there is absolutely no reason why you, as in Parambir, should be granted any protection from the arrest. So we do know now that the written order is expected anytime soon. In fact, we were told this could happen as early as 5 this evening, and the same later is going to be handed over to the Mumbai police. I want to say good evening to our special guest joining us right now. Kiran Bedi is a retired IPS officer who's also a former Puducherry Lieutenant Governor, and she now joins us. Dr. Kiran Bedi, welcome to you, ma'am. It's good to speak to you here. I want to know from you, when you hear about the man Parambir, the very fact, ma'am, that he's an IPS officer, but missing for 200 plus days, multiple NBWs, multiple FIRs, no one knows where he is. How can such a thing be possible? Kiran Bedi, ma'am.
I think it's very regretful for the service. Only he knows where he is. Because had the police known where he is, he would have been caught long ago. But the tragedy of Parambir's case is that actually he spilled the beans. He first spilled the beans. Everything was going covertly, I think. But he spilled the beans. Now, why did he spill the beans? By writing that email letter. He's the one who made the email public and then disappeared after. I think the whole thing started to get exposed. So I think it's a tragedy and a travesty for the Indian Police Service that we've had a top officer, a commissioner of Bombay Police, and going proclaimed offender. And as the investigation is revealing, I don't know what's the truth of the matter because we've not heard him yet. But evidence is revealing that it was a full coalition. It was a full coalition for extortion. It started with the vehicle. So I think it's a travesty of it's a very big blot on the Indian Police Service, having such a senior officer. And after all, you can't become a police commissioner so easily. You have to rise, you have to be capable. But those who appointed him, did they know him? Did they know him? Did they have his background? Or did he change? In fact, it's a story to be told.
You know, ma'am, you yourself are a retired IPS officer. You know, have you heard of any other officer in the country who has been running away from the investigative agencies? I mean, I can't fathom this because, you know, had it been a normal citizen, someone like us, someone like anyone else, the agencies literally go and hound you. But here is someone who has multiple FIRs, multiple agencies, both at the center and the state level after him, but still no one knows where he is. You have netas telling us that, listen, he possibly could be out of the country already.
Look, having been at such a high position, he knows the ins and outs of evading the law as well, because he's been dealing with law evaders. I'm sure he knows many ways. And also, I do believe if all that evidence is coming against him, he knows there will be no escape. He'll probably spend the rest of his life in the jail. So to make a choice between the jail, life in jail, and life of ignominy, and life of escape, I think he's making his own choices. He's making his life choices. Because he knows otherwise it's all huge shame till he proves his innocence. So one can only wonder, how did he get involved into this? As a police commissioner, you can't be doing these things. How did he get involved with this kind of nexus, which had a political component in it? Very strong nexus. And the political component is nobody other than the serving home minister of the state. And what is unearthed is exactly what everybody's been saying, that there is an unholy nexus in appointments of the political leadership. We've been talking about it. If all that evidence is coming through, if that comes out, if that stands established, then it proves beyond doubt the kind of unholy nexus which brings about this result. Unholy nexus of collecting money, extorting money, making money, holding money, criminalization. So it's that you need when it's a partnership between a corrupt politician, and that too in the home corrupt minister, and the police top leadership. Nexus is deadly for any state. And it was how long it was going on, we don't even know this. I think it's a never forgettable incident. I'm sure it'll see the light of the day one day, sooner or later. But it's an example of what it's proving so far. So far, I'm just saying still so far, that what a nexus of this kind can damage, how it can damage the whole law and order enforcement. Always, we've been all talking about it. Appointments, transfers, postings, right? We've been talking about it. So who chooses these kind of postings? I think very important to know.
Yes.
And then, did we know this background earlier? If he'd known, how could he rise to this top position? And then stayed on for so long? And the best part is, he himself has spilled the beans by writing that email. Only he can say what made him write the email. Because it's an email. If he had not written the email, he would have not gotten to the web himself. Because that started to get questioned. And then all his appointments which made, all the persons who were allegedly involved. When I was reading the newspaper, I want to make a caveat. Whatever I'm saying is based only on newspaper news. So I can be totally wrong also. So I want to seek forgiveness. But if what is coming in the newspapers has an element of any truth, then officers who were being appointed, who got involved in this alleged extortion, were his appointees. In fact, I used to wonder how, because I know that even a beat officer being appointed wrongly, and it's coming out in the papers and it's coming in the news, it can be picked up. You can pick it up. You can intervene as a police commissioner. You can intervene as a superintendent of police. Why did he not do it? So the fact that he brought him back after his suspensions, he brought him back into active service. Why did he do it? Under whose orders? Under whose orders? Was it his own decisions? I think all this only he can explain. But I think the country needs an explanation from him, and certainly the Indian Police Service. We all need to hear him. What went wrong? Why did he do it? Why did he damage the service as a whole? Why has he damaged the whole position of a police commissionership at the top level? And of course, next is the Home Minister is in custody. Home Minister needs to explain himself. And I'm sure as he proceeds before the court, we'll get to know what happened. But he also owes a lot of explanation. But he's certainly proving a theory when the Home Minister of a state or of any level and the police commissioner are together in integrity, miracles happen. If they are total in dishonesty, this was what happens, what Parambir's happened. But I do hope what I'm saying is proven wrong, and he comes out, he has something to defend. But I'm only saying on the basis of media information.
Now, Dr. Kiran Bedi, ma'am, you've made multiple points, and I really want you to elaborate more on them. The first thing is obvious, that if someone has done no wrong, if you are not guilty, then there is absolutely no reason why you will be running away from the agencies, why you will approach the Supreme Court and tell them that, listen, I want some breathing space, otherwise I feel suffocated, give me protection from arrest. That's point number one. But the other very important point that you just touched on is, I think this entire nexus that has unraveled with that letter also that Parambir has written, of the ex-Home Minister of the state of Maharashtra, who is in custody right now. And he's also actually said that all this was a part of a larger nexus. So was Sachin Waze. Now, I want to understand from you that is it possible that you have a sitting commissioner of police of the state of Maharashtra and, at this nexus, having its own cabal of people trying to extort allegedly, and you have the Home Minister unaware about all this, or you believe that there could be reasons for us to believe that they all could be working in tandem?
It cannot be without a tandem. It has to be in alignment. I cannot believe that the police commissioner can have a free run for this kind of extortion. It has to be in tandem. Now, whether it is in cohorts with the Home Minister, investigations will prove, and so far they are indicating towards that. But it cannot be in isolation. The Home Minister cannot be corrupt in isolation. Police commissioner cannot be corrupt in isolation. It has to be a nexus, because the Home Minister, if the police commissioner is dishonest and the Home Minister is honest, he can remove him. Why did he not remove him? Then, does the Home Minister want to say he did not know?
That's a good question.
So the question is,
absolutely, and I think, Dr. Kiran Bedi, that's a question that a lot of our viewers are asking. And because you make that point, I have to ask you my last final question before I let you go, ma'am. For the last many days, where you have, channels like Republic putting out the truth in public domain, you have confessions that have come in from Sachin Vaze, you have that letter that actually did allege from Parambir of the entire extortion racket, and the then Home Minister of the state of Maharashtra completely aware. How do I believe that neither the state nor the center were able to trace the whereabouts of this man? Aren't they both guilty today? Who's responsible today for this man missing and this man missing for so long?
Obviously, he's more intelligent and sharper, and he knows how to do hideouts because he's been discovering people. So he's an experienced officer. I think he had a great reputation before he came, and therefore he knows how to evade the police, or he evade any searches. I think most probably he may be out of the country because he's a recognizable face. I think I have my hunch is that he's not in the country. He's bound to have slipped out during the times when he could slip out, and probably he could see the writing on the wall. I do believe, I think he would be naive if he would be back in the country. Because he understands that life ahead is judicial custody. Life ahead is a lot of cross-examination and a lot of investigation and exposure. He understands what lies ahead. So he's making a choice between a life in jail to a life of exile.
And is his arrest then inevitable? What is your advice if Parambir is watching Republic, and I know he does. He's watching Republic, he knows what is happening, he knows you're speaking. What is that one advice you would want to give to him right away?
I cannot give him any advice. For him, it's a question of survival, how he wishes to survive. Who am I to advise him? Because he's been doing, did you listen to our advisors earlier? The point is, he is not, I don't think he is seeking any advice. It's a question now of his survival. How does he survive? For how long he survives? Only time will tell.
Is someone shielding him? Let me then just twist the question. Do you believe someone is shielding him? Can he do this all alone?
Whoever is shielding him is also in trouble then, because one day, even that will get exposed. I don't think people would be in nexus with him from within the department anymore, because it will get exposed soon enough. I don't think people in the serving in the service will take any more risk shielding him anymore. I don't think so. I don't believe.
Okay.
They'll be fools if they do. They'll be running a risk for themselves and their own jobs. So people, non-uniform people may be shielding him, but people in uniform on law enforcement, I don't think will take the risk of shielding him anymore, because it could spill the beans, and people who would be harboring him or shielding him would be running, if they're in service, or even pensioners would run of losing their pensions then.
Okay. All right, so time is running out. Time is running out for Parambir Singh. It's a pleasure, Dr. Kiran Bedi, you speaking to us here at Republic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you've heard Dr. Kiran Bedi.